To round 5 of the ILRGT1 Championship. Today you join us at the Dragon Trail circuit here in GT Sport with these Super Formula cars, and I'm gonna be honest, I have never really done a commentary on GT Sport, so it should be, I've been thrown in the deep end here, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it goes well, and I'm just beginning to learn the controls, so it shouldn't be too bad, and we'll just have to see how it goes really, and wish me luck, because this is literally my first time ever commentating on GT Sport, so it's going to be interesting, and we'll see what goes on during this race. I've got my keyboard ready, I've got a Reddit post in front of me saying what's going to happen, but anyway, yeah, so this is the first ever round of Season 5 in the Super Formula cars, around a game which I got about 3 days ago, so this is going to be interesting, and we'll have to see how this goes, so just wish me luck. Okay, so this is cool, so I can change what car we're looking at. So this is the car in first, and how many drivers are there? Have we got... It looks like we've only got 14 for now. And yeah, so do wish me luck. This should be quite fun. I'm looking forward to it. We've got Jamie. He's run a bit wide there out of the exit of the last couple of turns, of one of the last few turns. And anyway, let's get straight into the, I believe it's practice. Yeah, this is gonna be fun though. I'm looking forward to it. I know these Super Formula cars are quite good and they're quite fun to drive, and the custom liveries always do add a little bit of spin, so the drivers might be running different liveries to previous seasons. I wouldn't know. Unfortunately, your usual commentator couldn't make it tonight, so you've been left with me, unfortunately for you. But it should be a good race. We've got Mr. Costa, HR Racing, so we've got HR Racing, H Racing Green, Phil Taylor 17, Jamie 995, Lambo, Mr. Costa, Francis MG, who's up in 4th now. We've got in 7th, Wommer, believe that's correct. And then in 8th we've got Red Matt, 9th it's Frisky, 10th it's me. Well, it's not me, it's him. 11th is Fred Panda, 12th is Will Murdoch, 13th is Duke 11, and 14th is Brett Nick Netherlands. So let's get ready for this. This should be quite fun. I'm looking forward to it, and we will see how it goes. I hope you enjoy this. We are in Croatia for the Dragon Trail race. Quite an interesting circuit. Still learning these things, so bear with me as we go through the session. You can see, hey, Racing Green, he's nearly half a tenth up on Phil Taylor, so it is all quite close, although the gap between Jamie and Phil is not so close. We can also do replay stuff. I do that, and then that. Is that a replay? I'm not entirely sure. I'll learn this before we start the race. I think that's probably a good idea. Yeah, so this is Phil Taylor, of course. He's running in 2nd right now. Anyway, I'll see if I can get the stream up in the background. My Wi-Fi is not renowned for being excellent, so if it doesn't work, if I can't read your comments too easily, I do apologise. And also, if the mic volume isn't quite adequate, do let me know. That's always good, and that means I can have it a lot better for you guys watching at the stream. Anyway, so we've got, this is Chase camera view. Ooh. Ah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, this will be interesting, but I will work out. Hello, Millimeters fan. I hope you're looking forward to this. Those chicanes being quite graciously cut there by Phil Taylor. And I don't know what I've done, because I've got rid of the HUD Oh. There we go. I've got it back. It's all good. Phil Taylor then going into the pits. We can have a look at another driver such as Racing Green. I believe this is the practice session. Do correct me if I'm wrong though. And the fastest lap of the session so far. We've got 5 minutes to go there. Thank you, Red Matt. And the fastest lap there is Racing Green with a 1:18.6. So it's quite a fast lap around this circuit. You can see up there. We're running the Seaside layout tonight. And it should be quite good. Now then, so we're going to ride on board for this lap as we go through the last couple of turns. We're going to ride on board for this lap with it's me 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's Frisky off the track there, managing to avoid contact. He has, fortunately, he did go, so that's always good. I'm not sure if damage is on right now, so we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I really don't know much about the league, but here we go. The front tyres screeching from pain there. And we can continue. So we can have a look closer down to the ground. You can see how close they are, how fast they're going. As they swing it through here. Heavy braking, trying to get a late apex, trying to maximise the speed on the exit. I'm going to be honest, he's run a bit wide, eating the curb, and he's going to go into the pits. So we can go back to our normal view, and we'll have a look at Phil Taylor, who's still in second H. Racing Green has increased that gap to now 0.111 seconds, but look how close it is. There's just 9 thousandths of a second between Phil Taylor and Jamie. There's Phil Taylor across the line. It doesn't look like he's improved. We're right on board. Look how fast these cars go. Nearly flat out, going down about 4 gears there. And up into gear 5, gear 6, flat out through this right-hander before braking, eating all the curb, trying to maximise the speed. You can see this car's quite twitchy, especially when you get on the curbs. And the car revs to nearly 11,000 RPM. That's quite an interesting stat. And you can see that doesn't really work all too well with the name, so they can get on with it. So F11 is that, F12, F10 is that. There we go, very nice. I am trying to have a look at this comment, but it's not looking too good. Flat out through that chicane there. Taking a bit of liberties with the track limits, but nothing too bad. You've got to expect that from these drivers. Heavy braking again through into gear 3 before opening it up again onto the main straight, which is a left-hand kink in it just before you reach the line. Now we can get this stuff up, and we'll go into the normal car view now. Quite a nice livery going on. It looks like a bit like Force India, in my opinion, or Rosso Verde. Very Italian. You can see that quite easy, especially with the Rosso Verde. And it's got the Honda logo on it, of course. I believe these are Honda cars. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. And now Jamie is actually in first. We'll have a look at him. Look at that. He's, in fact, 3/10 ahead of Racing Green with a 1:18.2. And I believe the session's almost over. Let me have a look. And unfortunately, I'm not quite able to look at this comment for some reason. I will try and get out. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. But there we go. Hello, Kryptonite. Hope you're ready for the race tonight. I'll make sure our spectator options are on display. All info. Yes, there we go. I think it's a 20-minute practice session, so we can see we've got just 1 minute and 10 seconds left, and then I believe we'll move into qualifying. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not certain on how these races work. And it is the first race of the season, so it's all to play for. None of the standings, none of the championship has really started, and that is oh my god, about half a tenth down. It looked like on that lap was Phil Taylor. It looks like he's run a bit wide there. We're going to turn 1, so I'm going to try another replay. So we go Z, and then C. Maybe that only works in the race. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have a look. But anyway, yeah, so I've got all my stuff up there. If we go Z, then X. Or maybe I have to leave it, so Z. I don't know. Maybe it's only working in the race name. My keyboard just doesn't work. I don't know. It should be good though. And I'm looking forward to this because look how close it is. There's just 2/100ths of a second between racing Green and Jamie, so they're bettering each other with each lap. There we go, and that is going to be the end of the thing, and the final laps will be starting. Oh no, the final. This is the start of the race, lap 1 of 30. We're going to have a look down at Mr. Costa in P5. There he is, his position 5. There we go. We've got the drivers revving up. It's me going off his grid line, and it's lights out, and away we go. It's a decent start there up at the top. It looks like Red Matt trying to get past. I'm not entirely sure. Down the inside, it's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. We're right on board here. Oh, nearly contact there with the back of Phil Taylor, but behind, that's not correct. There we go. Behind, we've got a lot of tussling around on track. We've got Mr. Costa side by side with Lambo, and Francis trying to go down the inside, the green car with the orange car. Mr. Costa's going to stay ahead just about. This is a very close racing. The Fanatec sponsorship on the Lambo car. Have a look at what's going down the order. We've got Fred Pandy. He's going to take a look down the inside of Red Matt. Not quite. He's going to have to back off for now. This is Red Matt's onboard perspective. Brett and Nick having some problems with being able to drive. This is Will Murdoch then a bit further down the order. And yeah, Brett and Nick, he's got some issues and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to race. But it's Racing Green who's in the lead. Followed by that is Phil Taylor and Lambo. Big gap there, but on board with Mr. Costa. He's having a look down the inside of Phil Taylor, not quite, but you can see up in the top 2 there. Oh, it looks like Lambo's gone wide, and it's going to be the position for Mr. Costa on the exit. You can see in the wing mirror, though. We'll go back onto the normal view. We've got Francis coming up the inside, and Mr. Costa and Lambo side by side. We've got Jamie having a look down the inside. There's yellow flags being waved as there's the lap car of Nick. Oh, and that's on the grass, Mr. Costa, but not quite off the track. And it looks like after that, Jamie's up into 3rd. I don't think anyone saw that coming, so lots of tussling around here. So we've got in 7th here. We're right on board. And look how close it is. Red Matt just 2 tenths behind the other driver. We're going along here at quite a reasonable pace. 28 laps to go here in Croatia. And it's been quite an interesting start to the race, I think you'll have to admit. We'll go up to these top 2 then. We've got Phil Taylor and Racing Green. But further down we've got Francis. He's quite close. He's got Red Matt behind him. That's a gap of about 3 tenths, 4 tenths of a second. On me. But anyway, further back, it looks like Red Matt, he's closing up on Mr. Costa. Down the inside, potentially, Nick's leaving the session. Brett Nick leaving the session, and Mr. Costa, he's gone a bit wide next. He took an earlier apex, and that could give the opportunity for Red Matt to get past. Unlucky, Mets fan. You weren't able to make it. But we've got other drivers further up. Look how close. Brett's rejoined the room, and Francis moving to the outside. It looks like he might be down in position. Oh, we went down too far there. And look at that, side by side with Mr. Costa. Down the inside of Mr. Costa, it looks like Red Matt, he's got the position, he's past Mr. Costa. Will he, oh my goodness, he's off the track! Red Matt in 8th, and look at that, there's sparks all over the place. Has he got damage? I'm not sure if there is damage in this game. But look at this, Mr. Costa and Francis side by side. Mr. Costa will have the inside line into the next turn, they touch, and it looks like Lambo, Francis even, he's got the next part of the turn. We've got his Frisky coming up close behind, so we'll have a look at him. We'll watch this. Oh, there's a 3 wide as we go into the heavy hairpin. Round the inside goes Mr. Costa. He's got a bit of oversteer. He's on the medium tyres, it looks like. Oh, and there's spinning around. Big contact. He's ghosted. And we've got side by side through the high-speed chicane. It looks like Fred Panda's in the barrier almost. Look how close it is. It's Frisky ghosting through the other drivers. It's me now up into 6th position. We'll have a look at these top two. They're still relatively close. We'll get further down the order because look how close it is between these few drivers. Francis leading that pack now. Down the order though, we can see Red Matt and Wommer pretty close to each other too. Round the outside goes Red Matt on Frisky. It looks like, yeah, he's got past Frisky, but now behind Frisky it's Wommer, but Frisky's going to be looking to get back to Red Matt. Look how close they are. We'll watch this from on board. Well, not quite that. There we go, and it looks like he's dropping behind Frisky now, Red Matt, so we have to be looking in his mirrors at Wommer. Wommer will be closing in. In fact, you can see that gap's now 0.3 of a second, although it is increasing as we go through that next session. The dirty air will not be helping the trailing cars, although Red Matt has to deal with dirty air himself. But he is gaining now on its Frisky. Could he be making a move here? Not quite. You can see he's actually losing time on the exit. Frisky's just got the power down slightly earlier. And it's going to be Frisky staying ahead in 7th for now. We'll have a look at these top two now because look how close it is. Just 0.3 of a second to Phil Taylor and Racing Green. Along the straight then, we'll ride on board towards turn 1, which is flat out. Even when you're following another car with the slipstream, he might be gaining but not quite enough to make a move. So we'll go back to our normal view. Now down the order is Red Matt still. He's going to have a look at the inside of Frisky. No, he's going to move to the outside. No, he's going to switch it to the inside. He's sold him a dummy there, but he's not going to be able to quite get past. Now Wommer is close behind, but is he close enough to make a move? That is the question. Look at that, 2.5 of a second. He's gaining as 1.5. Will he be able to make the move? It looks like Red Matt's clipped the grass. Will that cost him some time? Wommer's still staying behind. We can ride on board with him. And now, can he quite make the move? No, he's not able to find it. Although, actually, in fact, there's just 1/10 of a second between the two drivers. Into the hairpin. Could we see a switchback from Wommer? It's going to be close under braking. Not quite. There we go. So Wommer's still not able to make a move. We'll have a look at these top two guys. It looks like Racing Green is beginning to pull quite some of a gap. We've also got J Luke. J Luke is not too far behind Fred Panda. Oh no, he is now because he's just hit the barrier. And that has not gone well. His yellow flags are out. And it's not gone too well for him. Phil Taylor setting the fast lap there with a 1:18.6. And that's just 0.4 off the best lap in practice, I believe. And Wommer's all by himself now. It looks like he's slowing down. We've got Red Matt still on the tail of the purple Frisky car. That sounded a bit wrong, but anyway, we can continue. Couldn't do anything. Unlucky, Brett. Yeah. It is unfortunate that had to happen, but we've got Red Matt. He's close behind now. On the exit, he's run a bit wide. I don't think he's going to quite be able to get the position here. No, oh, he's going to take a sniff down the inside, but just can't quite find it through the next turn. Whoever has the better exit. There's no braking for quite some time, although we're moving into the hairpin. He's got a good run on him. Round the outside into the hairpin. He's still not going to be able to get past Frisky. Just he's got some extra speed. Yeah, and it's good to see there's no damage. It means the drivers can stay competitive even with the incidents. Now 23.5 laps to go, sparking off the walls here. Red Matt is very close behind Frisky. He's going to move to the inside through to the ultimate turn. The black and red does really work well on these Super Formula cars. I've got to say, props to Red Matt for that. Now Red Matt has got to run out of the final turn. You can see the big diffusers of these Super Formula cars. It's going to be side by side into the first turn. Red Matt got his nose in, and it looks like he's got the position. Will he be able to retain it into the next turn? Under braking, they're still side by side, but Frisky, bit of contact there. He's managed to hold on to that position, which he will be pleased with. And now there's half a second gap. Wommer is gaining again, so we'll have to look out for that as well. And we'll have a look at these top two. Racing Green still extending that gap. It's now over 1.5 seconds. So he's really dominant in this race. And what's going on up here? Not too much. Got Wommer. He's looking to get past Red Matt, who's looking to get past. It's Frisky. And look at that gap just at 0.2 of a second. Will Wommer be able to start decreasing that gap? It doesn't look like it. Right now the gap's increasing. But Red Matt's going to move to the inside. Not quite into the hairpin. He's had to back off there. It's really hard to overtake. He's really struggling, and that's giving Wommer the opportunity to close that gap. Although he's remaining relatively consistent behind. This could be the move from Red Matt side by side through the high-speed chicane onto the final turn. He's going to move to the inside. It's going to be quite a big move. Can he get under the braking? It looks like he can. And Red Matt taking at 6th position. Frisky appears to have won right, but Red Matt's going to pull into the pits anyway because he's on those softer tyres, it looks like, and he's had to stop that gap, stop that battle before it's really started. And Will Murdoch leaving the room. Has he retired? Bit of a voice crack there, but now Phil Taylor is at 0.4 of a second behind Jamie. You can see it's getting quite close. This Italian car versus the pink car of the Super Formula of Jamie. These cars aren't quite as fast as Formula 1, but you can see just how much downforce they have through these corners compared to the other cars if you've raced on this game. And this circuit is quite an interesting circuit. A few high-speed chicanes. I don't even think they have to brake through here. You can hear he's still revving the engine. We'll get up here. His last lap was a 1 minute 19.8, and Jamie has the best lap with a 1 minute 18.3. Speaking of which, we'll move on to Jamie now. What was his best lap? We'll have a look. Ooh. Or maybe not. It was a 1:18.7, so he's clearly faster. We'll move up to these guys now. It's Frisky, and Wommer's got ahead now due to the pits. In fact, they're both going into the pits. It looks like Frisky taking a weird line through there. Now it's racing green here. He's still leading through the pit stop phase now. Lap 8 of 30, just 21 about to be laps to go. And it's going to be Jamie remaining with the fastest lap. Will he come out in front of him? Yes, he will. Phil Taylor's actually jumped Jamie in the pit stops. Would you look at that? I don't think that was what we were expecting. And the gap is just 0.3 of a second. Look at that. Jamie's right off the chuff of racing green. But it's Phil Taylor in the lead now. So Jamie's lost 2 positions from the start of that pit stop phase. He's not going to be too happy about that. As we move on to the next few turns, it's going to be nearly flat out through here. The tyres screaming under the pressure. Really getting tortured by these drivers tonight. And it looks like Jamie's got the run. He's going to move to the inside. It's going to be side by side as we on the run into the hairpin. Can Jamie get it under brake? He's gone round the outside. Is he going to be able to retain that position? And it looks like the inside line has benefited Racing Green there because he's holding on to that first position for now. So just 2 tenths separating them. Though Francis is already 10 seconds back in about a single lap. So I don't think anyone was expecting that. Now, if you're just tuning in, it's Phil Taylor in the lead, followed by Racing Green and Jamie. Phil Taylor, what's his gap looking like? It's considerable. It's 1.5 seconds. What kind of tyres is he on? I'm not sure if that's softer or harder. Not sure if it will say here. No, not quite. That's unfortunate, but we'll have a look down the order because look at this. Lambo, Mr. Costa and Wommer still very close in the order. Look at that. In fact, it looks like Lambo could be making a move here. We're right on board with him into the first turn. Not quite into the first braking zone. He's going to take a snip of the inside line, and that's a bit of a wobble there from Mr. Costa. He's able to control it though, and he's going to have to drop back there. He's losing time. We'll move back onto our normal camera views. Touching the grass there from Lambo. I want to see how we'll go on the replay. Look at that, he clipped the grass and that really did force him to have some oversteer. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that the replays could happen. I didn't know that was how you do the replays, but look at this. Racing Green is still close behind, followed by Jamie and Francis. Jamie, what kind of gap has he got to Racing Green? It's not too far. Look at these two. They're squabbling out on track. I think we might potentially see a second pit stop here, depending on the strategies these drivers are running. Jamie has got the fastest lap, and it looks like he is gaining on Racing Green. Not quite enough to make a move, I don't think. Brett has left the room. I swear he left earlier. Oh no, never mind. Looks like he was just spectating. It's so cool that you have the replay mode in this game. That's something they need to introduce to the F1 game for 2019, because that would be absolutely excellent. And I think these keyboard controls do work really well with the game. Let's have a look down the order then, because we've still got Lambo battling with Mr. Costa. In fact, he's actually got past Mr. Costa at this stage. We've got Fred Panda, he's just run off track there. And J. Luke in lost in 11th. He's got a bit of a gap in front of him. That's 13 seconds he's got to find. Whereas Mr. Costa is still close behind Lambo in his, I want to say, Caterham green Heineken-sponsored car. You can see there, Jamie's still close to Racing Green, but not quite close enough to make a move as yet. And Francis still got quite an extensive gap to Jamie. So I think we'll do is have a look at Mr. Costa. He's just set a 1 minute 21.5, whereas in front of him Lambo has set a 1 minute 20.9. So Lambo does appear to be half a second faster a lap, although that might all change. That is last up, and it looks like Mr. Costa is keeping that gap. In fact, he's actually decreasing that gap as we go along this track through the final turn. They've both run off, and that's Mr. Costa off the track. We'll have a look at that replay out of the final turn, it looked like. Oh my goodness, I did not mean to do that. We'll go back. That was a mistake. I forgot to click Z before then. And Mr. Costa has now lost a position to Lambo, and now he's 5 seconds off Lambo, Fred Panda, and that makes him... Oh no, I did not mean to do that. That makes him 6.5 seconds off Lambo, the person who was battling before that mistake. So that has really had quite a big consequence on him. I've got to remember to press that Z button now, that Z key, just when there's a mistake, so we can get a replay, because that was a really severe impact for him, and that's had a really severe impact on his race as a result, unfortunately for him. I'll see if I can have a look at this comment. Oh, come on, let's work. We'll have a look for the closest on-track gap. I think Mr. Costa is really dropping back now. Has he got some kind of... I don't think there's damage, but has he had some kind of issue as a result of that crash is the question. Nice. Yes, I think you'll have... I think Jack should be commentating next week, or otherwise known as ILRGT Soup Cooler, I believe, or just Soup Cooler, whatever you want to call him. I'm pretty sure he's meant to be the regular for commentating this evening. Now we've got, oh, and that's off the track there from It's Frisky. Not It's Frisky, that was actually Lambo, I think. So we'll have a quick replay of that. You can see Lambo up in front. He went off track, and that's closed down the gap to Fred Panda. So we can return here. Fred Panda's still behind. He's not by much. It's just 0.2 of a second. We'll go up to Lambo. Let's have a look at that lap time then. He's just at 1:20.5, whereas Fred Panda has set a 1:19.8. So Fred Panda is definitely faster, although that may have been... Yeah, so it is looking like Fred Panda's going to be able to close down that gap, really taking liberties at the track limits around these chicanes, I've got to say, from these drivers. And I think the Lambo's livery has taken inspiration from the Renault. I mean, it's got elements of blue in there as well. It does look very nice. Fred Panda is not too far behind though. Can Fred be able to make a move here? We'll have a look at him now. On board, it looks like he's dropping back along the straight. He might be running slightly higher downforce, I'm not entirely sure. That's Lambo on the grass a bit. Up ahead we can see the two other drivers battling, and you can hear these tyres being absolutely tortured. Redman, he's not quite close enough to have a move made upon him yet. Yellow flags Don't know what the course of that is. We'll have to look and see. It looks like the green flags are back out again. I think someone might have gone off very slightly there. Doesn't look like it's had too severe of an implication on the races. And we can continue. Phil Taylor's still in the lead, but that gap is closing down between him and Jamie. Jamie has finally got past Racing Green. We can have a look back at this this little battle going on here then. Wommer has left the session as well, so I think he retired. That might have been the cause of the yellow flags actually. So that leaves us with just 10 drivers left in the race, and that's J. Luke at the back, Phil Taylor at the front. And it looks like Fred Panda, I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to make a move here or not. Not sure if he's going to be close enough. We can look on board as we go along the straight. The slipstream will be able to aid him here, but we saw him dropping back along the straight last time. But he's run a bit slightly far right there, and that's going to cost him a run. And you can see he's just losing time along the straight, so he might be running higher downforce, and he might be able to claw back some time in the corners. We'll have to wait and see. As you can see the gap really closing through that section there, where they're really relying on the downforce. And will this mean Lambo and Fred Panda have a severe battle on their hands or not? We'll have to wait and see, because the gap's not too bad, but Lambo, you can just see him from this onboard camera pulling away there. And the gap's actually increasing. Unfortunate one. Yeah, these things do happen. I mean, I know someone that had their steering wheel, their pedals for their steering wheel break the other day. Of course, you are racing on pad, but same sort of concept, if you know what I mean. But yeah, unfortunate there. And look at this, we can see Fred Panda making a move here into the hairpin. Lambo's run a bit wide, but he's going to get the power down earlier, and that means he's going to be able to hold on to that position. We can look at the off-boards. And we'll go back to the normal cameras. Up the order then, Red Matt is behind Francis by 1.8 seconds. Where's Francis in relation to Racing Green? Still quite far behind. Whereas up at the top, Jamie is close to Phil Taylor, so we'll watch this gap for a bit. This could be quite an interesting battle. We're already halfway through this race, and Jamie is currently in second. But will he be able to make that first by the end of the race? We'll have to wait and see. It will definitely be interesting. I'm going to ride on board, almost going into the back of him there. But Phil Taylor is going to be able to hold on to it onto the straight. And Jamie just can't quite find anywhere past Phil Taylor in first. I mean, look how close that gap is though. It's down to just 2.5. It was down to under 0.2 of a second there. So it is getting very close between these two drivers. We could see it sorted out by the end of the next couple of laps, so we'll stay with them for now. I've got my finger ready on the Z button, but we can see Racing Green, he's really clawed back some time now, and he's going to be posing a real threat to Jamie in second. So now he's in a sandwich of two cars. He needs to get past Phil Taylor ASAP, and look, it's going to move to the inside, which he'll go for the switchback through this high-speed section here. It's going to be 3 wide because Racing Green is having a look around the outside. Not quite. Jamie's now leading the race, so he's got past Phil Taylor. And Racing Green's just sent one down the inside. And it looks like Phil Taylor's dropped down to third in just the course of a couple of turns. So you can see how swiftly the order can change around this track. And just in these cars in general. Sorry about that, I'll just try and move that out of the way. That should be alright, but Phil Taylor is very close behind now on Racing Green. Look how close he is. He's up into gear 6, 178 miles an hour on the straight, 182 just before the braking zone. It looked like that slipstream will be aiding with that speed. As Red Matt has gone into the pits and he's refueling as well, I believe. I can have a look now if they'll be needing to use fuel. Will Phil Taylor be using the overtake mode anytime soon? He's got 99.5 litres of fuel left. So, or I'm not actually sure what measurement that is. He's got 99.8. That is going up. Is he gaining fuel? Well, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, it looks like his fuel tank's going empty. Unless that's something completely different, I have no idea. And I don't think he's got any damage. It looks like we can go back and we'll have a look back up at this battle here, which was raging on earlier. Mr. Costa has lost time to Fred now due to his earlier mistake. Look at that gap now, 7.5 seconds. It's really not gone too well for him ever since he ran off the track there. Fred Panda looking for somewhere through, but he just can't quite get it. And now Racing Green will be looking to take the lead off Jamie, but first he's going to have to defend from Phil Taylor, who's gaining. He's quite close behind now, just at 0.2 of a second. Into turn 1, will he be able to do it? The number 17 not quite making it past. Oh, he's almost off the track there. That could have been very bad. We'll have a quick replay of that. Look at that, coming out of this turn here. He had a very hairy moment. That could have cost him a lot of time just running onto the curb. He's managed to hold on to it though. And we can continue with the race. That's lost him a good half a second, it looks like, because that gap is now 0.8. And unfortunately for him, that's going to cost him some time as usual. Now we've got Lambo and Fred Panda. Fred Panda not too far behind. That's down to 0.3 of a second. We can ride on board for a second here. Look at this. This P6, there's a P7. A bit of a lock up there, it sounded like, from Fred Panda. Those tyres really squealing. And it looks like Lambo has been able to extend the gap because of that. It's quite cool, these cars, how you can see the light above the drivers. They've also got the halos. Good protection device for these cylinder drivers. It can get very dangerous behind the sofa. We'll have a look at Lambo. I think they're all green. And that's going to trigger the second set of pit stops. So it is a 2-stop race. Racing Green and Phil Taylor all pitting for fuel. Will Fred Panda do the same thing? And if so, I think we will have to watch this, because due to the battles, the amount of fuel they put in their cars and whatnot, they could decide who comes out where if they're so close. Fred might be able to jump Lambo in the pits. Lambo's going to go in first though. We'll have to watch this from inside the pit garage. His pit crew are walking out. They're poised and ready with their wheel guns. Into the pits comes Fred Panda. They're going to change his tyres rather quickly. I think that animation does need work, but they're still refueling him using that gravity-fed fuel tank. And it looks like he's doing 13 laps of fuel. Lambo doing 21? I'm not entirely sure. Well, I really have no idea how that works. Well, that's percentage of fuel, but Fred is still going to be behind Lambo as he come out of the pits. In fact, he's lost about half a second there, so it hasn't been too beneficial for him. Phil Taylor has a 30-second gap to Jamie, but that is because he's done a pit stop, so we can see that the pits take about 28 seconds around here, although it's kind of late for that statistic to be of any use right now, as Jamie has gone into the pits as well. Due to that was, I believe, probably the final pit stop. We've got Francis and Red Matt. That'll be a battle to look out for in the closing stages of the race. J. Luke is in the pits, 2/3 of the way through the race, and we've got 10 laps to go. And Jamie is winning the race, but will he be able to hold on to it, as we've got Phil Taylor coming up the final turn now? Could Jamie be losing his lead here? He comes out of the pit, and it's going to be just ahead of Phil Taylor. Phil Taylor not quite able to gain it. There is 4-second gap between them, so it's all to play for. In fact, that gap is going down by the second. It's now 3.5 seconds. Mr. Costa in the pits. We'll go down to it's Frisbee now. This has been quite an interesting race, actually, and for my first time using commentating on GT Sport, I don't think it's been all too bad. Well, I hope it hasn't anyway. Lambo then, he's James Searles the fast lap with 1:18.3, so that's near qualifying times from earlier on, and this will set the tone for the rest of the season in these cars. And look at that gap. Phil Taylor now just 3 seconds off Jamie's. This is a battle that will be coming along in the closer stages of the race. We've also got Racing Green. That's 0.8 of a second. Will he be able to close it down? That is the question. Whereas down here we've got Fred and Lambo, but Lambo does seem to be losing time. Mr. Costa now in 9th. So we'll go back up to that top spot because Phil Taylor, he's got to gain some time on Jamie, which is not doing too well. In fact, he's actually losing the time now. 3.1 seconds. 3-second gap along the straight. What kind of lap, what kind of speed is he getting up to? It looks like he might even be running less downforce than Fred. Oh. Oh no. Completely lost. Absolutely and utterly lost. I just completely, my mind zoned out and I completely switched battles, but the blue flags are being waved at us in the car in 10th. That is J-Luke. He needs to be giving way to these faster cars. He will do soon. Right now it's only it's a decent gap. He's got 1 minute 20 to the lead, and that lead is Jamie. Jamie still extending that gap between himself and Phil Taylor, so I don't think we're going to be able to see a move from there unless this tyre wear does come into play towards the end. Whereas we've got Red Matt here. He's lost time actually to Francis, and now Francis is safe from in front and from behind, as is Red Matt, whereas it's Frisky and Lambo. Still a decent gap there. Fred Panda really losing time now. Don't quite know what's happened. Has he got tyre wear? Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, we'll continue. Mr. Costa then is in 9th, and Luke is in 10th. So Racing Green still half a second to Phil Taylor. So we'll get ready to watch this battle, which is soon to unfold. There's still the blue flags being waved there. You can see J. Luke is now in front of these two drivers. So he has been lapped by Jamie, and now that gap is nearly 4 seconds between himself and Phil Taylor. So it looks like Jamie's running away with the lead here. And anyway, look at that. Phil Taylor and H Racing Green going down the inside as we move towards the hairpin. Under braking. Will he be able to hold on to that position? They're side by side, and I think we will. Let's have a quick replay of that. Down the inside and went Racing Green. That was an excellent move there from him. He hit the curb, but he's managed to hold on to it now. So we can move back to the race, and Racing Green now is still going to look out for Phil Taylor. Phil Taylor is not going to let that position slide too easily. There's still 0.2 of a second in it. In fact, that's gone up to 0.4 nearly. What's really annoying is I've screenshotted all these keyboard controls, but I've screenshotted it as I got a notification. I just want to swipe it away, and every time I do that, I lose all of my stuff. But down the inside is Phil Taylor on Racing Green. Will he be able to get that position? It doesn't quite look like it. And he's going to have to slot him behind it for now. Although that gap is just 1/10 of a second, we can ride on board. Could he go for the switchback move here? Yes, he does. He's going to take a sniff down the inside, but he's really lost some time to Racing Green. Racing Green, though, he's gone a bit too narrow on the turn, and he's clipped the grass. And now we've got J. Luke in front, so that's going to throw a spanner into the works as we enter the final few laps of the race. Just at 5.5 laps to go from here. And look at this. Phil Taylor is gaining a rate of knots on Racing Green. And yeah, look at that. It's now back down to a relatively small gap. That could be changed. That might change all towards the end of the race. And look at that, just 2.5 of a second, under 2/10 of a second as we move on towards the next turn. Will Phil Taylor be able to make a move? Not quite. He's had to back off slightly through there. Hello, Nick. It is me. I hope you're enjoying the race. I am too. Oh, well, that is if you are. I am enjoying the race personally. Phil Taylor then, will he be able to make a move on Racing Green? I'm not too sure about that. Still at 0.2 of a second. He's running much less downforce. You can see Racing Green. Oh, on the gravel goes Phil Taylor, almost in the grass there. So we'll have a quick replay of that moment he had. So you can see he was very close behind Racing Green, but through here you can see him losing a lot of time as he's using a lot less downforce. He's gone onto the gravel. and he had a very hairy moment there, but he's managed to keep it out for now, and that gap is now 2 seconds. Phil Taylor, he's really lost some time to Racing Green, and that's going to give Racing Green an opportunity to start closing down that gap to Jamie. He's going to have to gain over 5 seconds in 5 laps, and that's going to be quite the challenge for him. Right down the order though, we've got, it's Frisky and Panda, Fred, yeah, whichever one you want to call him. Oh, Nico, I'm sorry that you're not enjoying the fact that I'm commentating. Don't worry, next week you can enjoy it without me, probably. We'll have to wait and see. But look at that, Lambo, and it's Frisky. Lambo hasn't quite got the room to make a move on Redman. In fact, talking about Redman, let's have a look at him here. He's just, his last lap with a 1:19.9. He's 27 seconds off the lead. And it's Frisky on the other hand. He's done a 1:20, and then ahead of him is Lambo, who's done a 1 minute 19.5. So they're relatively evenly matched on pace, and that's gonna that makes it less likely that he's going to be able to overtake Red Matt, as we're on lap 26 of 30 now. Not too far to go with these cars, and it's been quite an interesting race so far. I mean, there's all to play for right now. Will Phil Taylor be able to gain back on Racing Green, or is all lost for him? We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, but you can see there, that gap is beginning to extend, and it doesn't look like it's quite likely for him to try and get past. Have a look down here then, and yeah, all these gaps are beginning to extend. Oh, and that's Mr. Costa off the track. Let's have a quick replay of what's happened there. He's just had the oversteer on the exit, and he's not quite been able to get it. And yeah, that's a really severe incident for him, and he's not going to be happy about that, but we can go back to the race. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Sorry about that. Sorry, I just had a look at the comments, I mean, even though I've just commented in there. Well, love Nick. Now, Fred Panda, he is gaining on It's Frisky, but will he be able to gain enough as we head into the last few laps of the race? Lap 27 of 30 here in Croatia. You can see the mountains all around. The graphics of this game, very nice. I'm interested to know, is this an actual track in real life or not? I'm not sure if all the GT Sport tracks are real. Yeah, because I've literally only just got the game, so it would be interesting to know if anyone would care to enlighten me. Oh, taking a late move there was Fred Panda. I don't think there was quite the move to get past for him there. As you can see, taking a look down here. So yeah, I did think this was a fantasy track. It didn't quite look real to me. Thank you very much for enlightening me. I can now ascend. Now Fred Panda, he's going to move around the outside of It's Frisky. They're going to go side by side through the hairpin. There's contact, and It's Frisky's going to stay ahead again. So it is all getting very heated between these two drivers. We're going to ride on board with Fred Panda for now. You can hear the tyres screeching, and oh, this is looking very twitchy from Fred. Into the final turn, he's going to move down the inside, potentially. I'm not quite sure if he's going to be able to make that stick, and he's going to have to back off for now. Anyhow, it's been a very interesting race so far, and we're entering the last 3 laps of the race. Jamie is leading. You can see him here. He's really setting in some pace. 1 minute 19.3 on those worn tyres. Whereas Fred Panda is very close behind. It's Frisky. In fact, we're going to ride on board as we go into the next braking zone. I have no idea why Jack isn't in the lead. I'm sure you have a bone to pick with him then about that. Got to persuade him to race. But now we got Fred Panda. Look how close he is behind It's Frisky. Fred Panda then. Round the outside. Has he got that move? It's a stick. No, there's contact. And he's had to back off for now. Let's have a quick replay of that. Bit of grass there was from It's Frisky. That gave Fred the opportunity to go round. In fact, he's got past. In fact, It's Frisky batting him round, and he had to back off through there. And Fred Panda, he's staying behind for now. Yellow flags. Why are there yellow flags? I'm not entirely sure. Has there been contact or something? I'm not sure. It looks like the green flags are back out. Can't quite tell. Yeah, I think the green flags are back out. But Fred Panda taking a look down the inside, not quite able to make it stick though. I suppose we've got to keep everything fair. Can't have people like Jack absolutely knocking everyone out of the park. See, he's doing it. He's clearly doing it for the benefit of you guys. I mean, he just wants it to be a fair competition. He doesn't want anyone running away with the lead. That is what Jamie's doing now. And look how close it is between Fred and It's Frisky on the penultimate lap. He could be going for the switchback move here. He hasn't got the power down early enough. I'm not quite sure. I don't think he's going to be able to make that stick for now, as we've got Jamie on the final lap of the race. We'll have to switch back to him towards the end. Gone a bit too far back there. We've got Fred Panda on It's Frisky. He's going to take a look down the inside into the final turn. Can he make it stick? It looks like he can. We'll have a quick replay of that if he holds onto it. Yes, we will. In fact, no, we won't, because it looks like there was about to be a move there by It's Frisky. Yeah, in fact, he's got past. And that's going to be It's Frisky back into the lead. Can Fred Panda retake it into the braking zone? Oh, and there's contact, a bit of a front bump there as Jamie's come towards the end of the lap. We'll hop back to this battle. It's getting very close. Fred Panda, bit of contact with It's Frisky. It's Frisky making to stay ahead. No punterino, Fred. Jamie coming out of the final turn then for the final time to win the Grand Prix here at Dragon Tail, the first of the season. Next it will be Racing Green coming out of the final turn to take the checkered flag, following him across the line. He'll be happy with that. Then it's going to be Phil Taylor. In fourth is Francis McGee. Coming through the final turn now. We've still got It's Frisky and Panda battling it out. Across the line then. It's going to be fourth for Francis. Then a red mat, who will be coming out the final turn. Now it looks like the laps car is about to finish as well. That might be Luke. Not entirely sure. But anyway, that is a red mat coming out the final turn now to finish here in Croatia. P5, he'll be happy with that. Now these have been battling very well. Fred and Frisky, very good there. And that will be the finishing order, which I'll get back to in a second. That is the winner, Jamie 995. So that was quite an interesting race. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that. Yeah, guys, don't forget to check out ILR League on Twitter. And I will probably end the stream there. So thank you everyone so much for watching. I managed to do that. I was literally told that we need a new commentator 45 minutes ago. 45 minutes before the race, so I hope it was alright. I wasn't entirely sure what I was doing. This is my first time ever commentating GT Sport. I believe that's the race over, unless I've got something very wrong, but I think it is the race over. Thank you everyone so much for watching then. It was a very interesting race. Don't forget to watch the stream back, and also to share this stream, and also share the channel, share the league. If you want to join, you can find out online, very easy. Just find the Inside Line Racing website. Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe and share the channel. You can find me on YouTube as well. I am Barless. I hope you enjoyed the race, and I will maybe not see you next time. We'll see what happens. Goodbye.